welcome to the new episode of Untold Journey podcast that is dedicated to amplify the voice of young change makers who's contributing a lot for Africa. I am your host Hannah Lalle, and this podcast is brought to you by All African Conference of Churches, the Horn of Africa project. Today I am here with Wanjiku Kamau, a passionate young leader from Kenya. Wanjiku is a very dedicated peace practitioner with over 4 years experience in social transformation, community building, and youth empowerment. It's a pleasure for us to have you here, Wanjiku.
Thank you. Wonderful. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
So let's dig into our conversation. Tell us about yourself.
All right. Thank you, Hannah. I like to believe that Wanjiku Kamau is a young African woman, born in Kenya, of course. So, who is working in across different sectors that matters around peace building. I believe in community development. I like to integrate all these aspects that matter to the people. So I work in a human-centered approach. A trained mediator, a dialogue facilitator, and I believe in people just, dealing with conflicts in a non-violent way. So I also believe in community resilience and just tapping into resources that community is. So Wanjiku Kamau is a young woman who works for the community advancement in different ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wanjiku, for your wonderful work. What really inspires you to engage in peace building activities?
Interesting. First of all, it's important to mention that I grew up in an informal settlement. That's Mathare. Mathare is at the heart of Nairobi, which is the capital city of Kenya. And it has different, it's a whole pool of different kinds of people because Nairobi is known to host all the communities of Kenya. This is where people come to look for jobs and employment. So it's a very mixed kind of community. And living there, you had to develop ways to actually, accommodate different cultures, accommodate different tribes. And therefore, that is where my passion, came from, because I really loved it when we were able to interact with different communities, irrespective that we do not speak the same language. So we were not limited to tribal lines. We were not limited to ethnic groupings. And also being able to test violence at first hand, witnessing what violence could do to families, to children, to businesses. So I would not wish that for anyone. So that stems what I do really. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You are also very interested when it comes to the young generation and youth empowerment. Is there any specific reason that you focus on youth empowerment?
Thank you, Hannah. It's important to note that not just in Kenya, but really globally, the young person is, fighting to be heard, fighting to be seen. And it's quite unfortunate that a young person is seen as a threat, really, or maybe someone who cannot meaningfully contribute to the development of a society. And most of the times, especially where I come from, my context, they are seen as perpetrators of violence, because most times these are the people who are very vulnerable to manipulation, who are very vulnerable to, just being called in for informal, very violent work. And therefore, being a young person, I thought the more we are in trying to just voice out what we believe in, that we are assets as young people, the better and the merrier. So I believe in young people as an asset. I believe in young people as, you know, meaningful contributors of society's sustainability, you know, contributing to sustainable goals. We cannot achieve that without including young people. And therefore, I believe in youth-centered, you know, approaches. You know, having us included in conversations, it does more good than it does more bad. And therefore, yeah, that's what I believe in. Let's involve young people. Let's hear what they are saying, and also open up room to change, because I think that's the greatest challenge, why people would lock up doors, because no one likes change, but the change is here. The young people are here, and we will have more coming up. The sooner we can agree to that, the better.
Yes, I agree too. So let's talk about Footprint for Change and the works you do on that initiative.
Thank you, Hannah. So quickly, Footprints for Change is a youth-led, youth-serving organization whose main office is in Mathare, Nairobi, but it has, you know, its work goes beyond Mathare because we work in different counties. But a quick run through how Footprints for Change, or if you'd like, F4C, F4C, Footprints for Change. Footprints for Change began doing mentorships in school, that is way back in 2013, 2014. And that was a season where there was a lot of political and electioneering tension. And during the mentorship sessions, one of our mentors realized that a particular group of children would not play with a particular group of children. This is because the parent of this child, parent X, said something about parent Y. And therefore, we had started observing tribal lines evident in children. Really, we were not headed to the right direction as a nation. And therefore, that's where we started doing a lot of peace building work, tailoring it to children where they could develop skills around conflict resolution. And as we continuously evolved, we realized it's not just with children, because now we have a group of young people who we did not meet in schools, who are already out here, who are competing for the resources that are not enough in the community. We only have one specific bathroom that we can share. We only have one specific field that we can share. So we had to continuously think about programming around young people and building the capacity of young people to actually respond to conflicts in an nonviolent way. And therefore, we started training alternative to violence, okay? We started training negotiation skills. How do we sit and be able to just amicably take care of these conflicts that are here with us? Conflicts are not entirely bad, and they will be there, especially in a setup like Nairobi. Then how can young people see that and be able to just maneuver and navigate around conflicts in an nonviolent way? So Footprints for Change does that. It builds the capacity of children and youth ages 10 to 24 to deal with conflicts in a nonviolent way. We train in peace building, social transformation, because we demand that everyone who's gone through our programs be able to identify a need or a gap in the community that you can actually respond to and be able to provide solution. And we journey with you to do that. So we offer mentorship. We also train in critical thinking, and we walk them through chess. We have a chess kind of arrangement where we teach them how to play chess for critical thinking. But other than that, we have introduced a new way to actually have young women coming up also, because after COVID, it was a crisis globally, and we had a whole lot of young girls and teenage girls pregnant. So we started responding to that as well, just being able to walk with them through positive parenting, and also being able to just walk through your goals. So we have an aspect of youth economic empowerment. So we train them in employability skills, but also be able to link them up with areas where they can access technical courses, handy courses. Can you do hairdressing? Okay, are you saying you are passionate about beauty? So we link them up with organizations that offer those courses. And after that, now we do follow up to ensure that they are actually able to take care of their children, their social well-being. But one thing or two things I'm very proud of about us as an organization, in 2022, when we had our last elections, we were able to train a cohort of youth leaders throughout Mathare. And this team managed to facilitate dialogues that actually informed a roadmap to peaceful elections in the year 2022 in Mathare. And for the first time, we did not see violence occur immediately after the announcing of results. And we tend to believe that that is work that was done by young people. They single-handedly and also collaboratively worked with stakeholders in the community to just engage one another in dialogue. What goes wrong? What can be done? What is my role as a young person to play? What is your role as a senior citizen to play? What is your role as a local admin to play? We know and we've heard that there's sort of, some tension between local admin and the young people, or the security sector and the young people. We have continuously allowed for avenue for the discussion and dialogue. We do sports for peace, and we invite all these stakeholders to be able to, sit at the same table and say what, really matters and what do we need to do to move forward. The second thing I want to mention before you maybe come in, Hannah, is that we have trained a cohort of mediators, both male and female, 17 of them, who are now equipped with skills to be able to just respond and help with peace processes. And when you do that, Kenya is currently developing their national action plan on youth peace and security, the resolution 2250. As an organization, we were consulted to be a part of that discussion, which was an honor, really. And one of the pillars is, their participation in these decision-making processes. We are always saying we are excluded. And therefore, what we do is ensure that when these young people get an opportunity to be invited to tables, they have something to say that could be relevant to the conversation. Because we just don't want to say, oh, we are not included, we are not included. And when we are called, we cannot meaningfully contribute. So what we do is we build the capacity of these young people so that when they are invited to tables, they have strategies. They know their role as young people. So yes, so we have a mediation network for Mathare, and we've been able to develop a roadmap to peaceful elections. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you, Wanjiku. This is such an inspiration, and you are doing a lot of works, and it's very important what you're doing there. Just a follow-up question. You said you're training young people to be part of in a meaningful decision making, and I want to ask, how are you managing women to be part of this decision makings? Because even though we are on the space of the decision makings, sometimes we are not contributing what we are expected, right? So how do you make sure that women are participating in a meaningful way of decision making processes?
Thank you, Hannah. Two things. I agree with you that at times we are invited just to check a box that we had a young person available, we had a young woman available. And what we are continuously asking young women is to build their capacity, learn as much as you can. And we actually allow for them to know that if you are not at the table, you know someone who's going to the table. Okay, so how do we influence both inside the room and outside the room? All right, they might say, oh, just come, carry something, or do this, give you secretarial work, take notes and all of that. How well can you network with people whose voices look like they are being heard? It's wisdom, really, to know that I can speak, I can air this to this particular person, and they are able to represent me as I said it. So if I'm not in the room, who do I know in the room? who could actually be, an asset or a resource for me to share my view. Because the issue is this, it's unfortunate that is in this century, we still have people thinking, oh, that women are not meant to be speaking, women cannot speak in this particular community. But when that is the case, even as we continuously advocate for a voice to be heard, who are our allies? So it's important for young women to identify their allies. That's what we do. If they're not part of the room, then they need to influence from outside the room. But if you get an opportunity to be inside the room, ensure you are knowledgeable, really knowledgeable, because it counts for many young women who did not get the spot to be there. Be informed, know what is going on.
Yeah, I also understand the importance of being on the table to have that opportunity, because it's not an everyday opportunity to have that kind of platform. So when we are on that platforms, we have to own it, and we have to be prepared, and we have to know who we are working with, and we have to do stakeholder analysis, who we have on our side as well. So yeah, I really get what you're saying. So you have also a background on trauma healing, mental health, and dialogue as well. You were also part of our TOT training on trauma healing, and you have contributed a lot. I've heard and also I've read what you have done as well. So I wanted to ask you how important trauma awareness and mental wellness is in building sustainable peace and security in communities.
Thank you, Hannah. My passion around trauma healing and mental health awareness is ideally, first of all, from, direct engagement. Like I have been traumatized directly from conflict, okay? I've watched people die. I've watched people fight. And it really messes with your up there, okay? So it's really incomplete for us to talk about peace building without addressing trauma for individuals, for institutions, for communities, and especially in marginalized urban areas. We've seen grudges being inherited from one young group to the other. So a team of young people emerges, they group up, they are fighting with a particular group of our community resource. We think we have resolved that, we've moved on. Another group comes up and actually inherits, literally inheriting that grudge. They might not even be aware of what was being fought over, but they've come up and taken that particular identity, and now they want to fight the other group. Okay, we've had cases of injustices. Someone was killed innocently, the brutal killing around for young people. A family is left with wounds, and we want to continuously speak about peace building without acknowledging that something happened. We will be lying. So it's really important for us to understand where our communities are, and acknowledge the impact of this violence, acknowledge the impact of the conflict, and be able to just do that community dialogue, dialogues that are community centered towards healing. What is it going to take for us to actually start forgiving one another? What is it going to take for us to actually start moving on together as a community? Because if we do not do that, we will continuously build walls that are being inherited by younger generations, and a community will never move wholly together again. So I believe in acknowledging the impact of violence and conflict, what it does to our people, and then ensure there's window for dialogue around that. If we have to talk about conversation, compensation. It's a hard discussion, but let's have it. What is it going to take for me to forgive this institution? Institution A and B, I was, in a bad way, evicted from my area. I was in an improper way. My property was destroyed. I lost a son, I lost a husband, and I didn't think I needed to lose my husband in such a manner. So how do we move these communities from hurt hearts to actually forgiveness and start building trust. We've had a series of young people who cannot walk into police stations because they don't think you can walk in and walk out the same way.
Mm.
And for me, I believe for us to achieve peace, the police sector have to feel safe in the community, and the community has to feel safe in the hands of, the police. But when we look at the young person has grievances, a long list of things that were done. If we walk over that and assume it did not happen, then we are lying to ourselves. The police sector also is saying we walked here and we were stoned. These communities do not allow us to even patrol. How do we get communities to just heal from um, stuff that happened in the past so that we can move forward and achieve goals together as a community? We need to talk about healing. It has to be there. We need to talk about restoration of justice. We need to talk about it. It's a hard discussion, and especially where the people might not trust institutions or the institution do not trust the people. But someone has to do some work around it if we are to actually achieve meaningful engagement from both parties. So that's where my foundational work around trauma is. So what we do is we have created safe spaces where young people can easily engage. They can communicate one to another. There's a lot of peer-to-peer learning, psychosocial support, because it is really important. So we have a safe space where they can communicate. We have like 5 safe spaces of young women, especially those who are parenting, some who are actually, survivors of gender-based violence. It's important for us to engage around these matters if we are going to talk about peace building. Because if I do not have peace within me, then I'll not be at peace with my neighbor. So it has to start from an individual level. Let's program around there and also look at the whole wider community. So I facilitate trauma healing dialogues. Let people talk about their river, of life. I was here, I have been here, this happened. Just appreciate the events of life. Yes, Hannah, that is it for now.
Thank you so much, Wanjiku, and I'm really sorry for what has been to you and what you have been through. And I hope you had your peace and your healing through your journey. And it's what you said is very important, because I also share your thoughts on how young people, inherit grudges from our parents, from our communities, because that's is something that we share here in Ethiopia as well. And we have to talk and we have to acknowledge the trauma that our community is experiencing, and we have to communicate, talk about it, and you have to provide those facilities so that we can move on and work for our peace as well. So thank you for sharing that. You have mentioned about trauma healing or dialogues, trauma healing and dialogue facilitation, and if there is any story, success story that you can share with us regarding dialogue facilitation, where this helps community to integrate and work together again.
Thank you, Hannah. I'll share two. When we started Alternative to Violence work, we would recruit from the very marginalized ones, the ones the community is saying we have washed our hands. We do not want anything to do with this team. They have proven that they are beyond help. And I think that's the greatest do to write people off and think that now people are beyond redemption. I think everyone deserves an opportunity to be heard and to be understood where they come from. So when we were recruiting for Alternative to Violence training, we recruited from those groups, those that people are saying these ones. And the first day of training, we actually had a gentleman who came in, with his hair, he had locks. And then the following day, it's normally a 3 days workshop for the basic one. And then there are like 3 levels, so about 10 days, with breaks in between each 3 days. So the second day he comes with half his hair. because something happened overnight. They met a group which they had grudges around, and he was chopped with a panga, I don't know, a machete or something, and he had to like shave half of his locks. And he comes covering his hair because now half of his hair is gone, and he has stitches on his head. And we are talking about alternative to violence. And this has happened in the night of the next day. So when we engaged him to just identify what had happened, and he was, open to share, because what we do with the basic workshop is we want you to understand communication and also a bit of the transforming power, what you have as an individual. So he shared, and we started working with this guy. And by the time we are finishing the last bit of it, he's part of the TOT that trains on alternative to violence now, because we have to train you, the basic level, the advanced level, and then train you to train others. We understood that it's out of that training that he was able to actually easily deal with that particular grudge, with that particular group. So what happens is he was the leader of one group, and this group had a space where they were fighting over with another group, and you necessarily have not wronged anyone, but because you identify as a member of that group, then you fall as part of the enemies. So transitioning this gentleman from actually violently engaging with other groups to actually having him advocate for alternative to violence with his song, and now he trains people on alternative to violence. That was a success story for us, really. We watch him today, and the number of people who can easily identify with him because he has been there where they are and he's able to just walk with them, then it becomes easy when you're actually tapping into the resource the community is, because he only needed someone to inform him that there was transforming power within him. Yeah, that's all we need to do for some people. The other success story I'd like to share of individuals is now when we are doing the safe spaces for young women. And when they are coming in, they are very, wounded and hurt. They've experienced gender-based violence, and at times it's intimate partner violence, from their partners. And people would get suicidal, and they are thinking about even not doing anything with their children. And for them to be able to walk the journey of processing what has happened to them, and then getting to a place where they're saying, now I feel like I am ready to just parent and look for something to do for my kids, that is a success for us. When young people are able to make sober decisions about who they affiliate with. Politically, we're very non-political and non-partisan, but we are glad when young people are able to engage in a sober way about politics, because we cannot say that it is meant for those people. We are meant to participate. And so one time a gentleman says that if person X today says that we are going to a demonstration or a protest, I actually want to evaluate and get to know, is it something I want to be a part of, regardless of that person X is from my community. There's something people call in Swahili, mtu wetu, our person, mtu wetu. So young people being able to make decisions, not that those that are not based on the mtu wetu particular saying, then we are a happy organization.
Thank you so much, Wanjiku. The story that you told us, they're very inspirational, and as young leader, we should always see things from different perspective. We can't rush and make decisions, and when we do that, it's the young people, it's us who will be affected by that decision. Thank you so much. You have a specialized trainings from institutions like International Peace, Human Rights Development, and others. And how does this training shape you and shape your approaches to mediation, conflict transformation, and resilience building?
Thank you, Hannah. So the trainings by International Center for Human Rights Development, Peace and Human Rights Development, IPHRD, they began my mediation work. Actually, I am part of a network they call the Young Women Mediation Network. that comprises of young women from Ethiopia, the Horn of Africa.
Yeah.
And it presents an avenue for us to learn from each other, different contexts and strategies that are working, what is not working, what are some of the challenges. And, the exposure to such quite a wide, network of young women who are in mediation really serves you well, because number one, you are able to draw inspiration and learning from work that has been done. You don't need to try something someone failed at. So it gives you an upper head or an upper hand in the work you do. Number two is when you're sharing the work you have been able to do, there's so much learning even for the other countries, and that way now we are able to shape the region, we are able to shape the globe, and it's a win for young women that we are now contributing to a sustainable continent. So for inspiration, for motivation, and also for learning, it really exposes you to different contexts that people are working on and people are working in. And the partnership between the International Center for Peace and Human Rights Development and Klingedale, it's a very detailed workshop. It's a very detailed workshop, and it deepens your understanding of conflict. It deepens your understanding of communities, and it deepens your understanding of strategies to actually use when it comes to negotiation. Okay, what can work for community A doesn't work for community B. What is working for C doesn't work for D. So how do you navigate that as a young woman? And also building your confidence, because now when you're knowledgeable, you have something to say, then the confidence comes out a bit, naturally. But yes, so it has shaped me in a way that it has exposed me to different contexts. So I'm able to learn from other young women, and also a place to actually draw inspiration. But also because it's not a one-off event, it's a network. You can continuously follow up on each other. Opportunities to learn are shared, build each other there. Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah, thank you, Wanjiku. Platforms like this are very important because, as you said, it's not it's not only the knowledge, but also the experience and the exposure that are very important, especially for young women who wants to influence in peace building activities, in mediation and other important issues. It's important to know the context of other countries' perspective as well, and I'm sure you have learned a lot from this engagements.
Yes.
Moving on, you are also part of the Positive Peace Ambassador program.
Yes, I happen to find that course online. It's important that we are not limited anymore because we have technology. And I think that's an asset that youth can actually leverage in building yourself, building up yourself, number one, but also just sharing your voice with the world. So I learned about the course online and I took it. I got the certificate for the course, and then they sent me an email for the ambassadorial program, which I was also glad to take part in because there were other guys that we were learning together with. And again, it's an avenue for you to engage globally, learn from different people, but also be able to contribute to work that is being done, not necessarily where you are. So just understanding that there's positive and negative peace, and clearly assessing where you are as a nation, because most of us think that peace is the absence of violence, which is not really the case. It's important for us to understand that we could be quiet, but not peaceful, because if institutions and structures are not supportive of non-violence, ways of doing things, then we just need a simple trigger and we'll be back to, shambles and all of these things. So it's important to just assess and know that we are not at peace until we've attained peace through structures and systems and institutions. And I also got to learn how to measure a peaceful community and what is not a peaceful community. Why is most of our budgets going to the military, kind of things? Why are we always budgeting for machines and guns if we are peaceful at all? Okay, so why are we always talking about post-trauma programs if we are a peaceful community? So just being able to identify such indicators, it helps me in my day-to-day work. I'm able to point out a few indicators. I could trickle that down to the grassroots level and be able to know there's tension in between the chief's office and that particular group of young people. Just by getting to know the chief the chief no longer uses this route. He's moved to using a different route. Okay, so you're able to pick indicators, and with something like early warning and early response, then we are able to mitigate conflicts before they actually become violent.
Yeah, thank you so much. So how can our young viewers, especially women, can access these kinds of platforms?
It's important that every young woman knows they do not show up at your bedside and say, "Hi, we are here, try us out." I encourage young women to just, show up, put yourself out there. Do not be afraid to make mistakes. Platforms and avenues are available, but not around where you are. You have to actually break the comfort of your area, the familiar things. Want to try the unfamiliar. Leverage on partnerships, leverage on networking, because that's how you actually know of things that you did not know about. What has really worked for me is anytime I show up at a meeting, I have a goal that I have to walk home with a new friend. I have to walk home with a new network, because they will know of a course that is being offered that I did not know of. They will know of an organization that is offering something that I did not know of. And especially in a space of community work, social transformation and community development, it really is needful for us to be connected, to be, all vast, quite a number of people. It even contributes to your security as a young woman, because you know specific people. And when you're continuously doing this work, you have a number you can call when this happens. So it's very important. And you ask, how can they access these platforms? They are out here in the social media. They are in the meeting rooms. You go and you don't say anything. That's the biggest mistake a young woman will ever do. Already you are marginalized, but when you get the opportunity to get into a meeting room, you just sit and listen from people. And when people leave there, they will not remember you are in the meeting. There's a mentor of mine who once told me, well, not literally, but if you have to drop a spoon for them to remember you, drop the spoon. And then remember the day you dropped the spoon, okay? But what I'm saying really is show up, ensure you are seen, ensure you are heard. And that way, one thing leads to another. People start recommending things that are actually relatable to you, because you spoke who you are, you spoke your mind, and it is easy for people to know what suits you best. Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah, that's very true, and I also share that. I'm gonna take this as an advice for myself as well. Um, we have learned a lot about you and what you have done so far, your achievements, but there are also ups and downs, I'm sure. What are the challenges, especially as a young woman leader, that you have been facing?
Quite the usual. When you have to navigate bureaucracy and institutional processes that are already locking you out as a woman. So being able to just access some spaces when you're a woman. So the issues of exclusion are there. They are there every day. But I flip the coin. I like flipping the coin, because number one, when I realize there's that, I'm going to now it builds my consistency in actually reaching out. And then you have to always, try different tacts. There are areas where a lot of noise will help, shouting, and not really shouting on the road, but just calling people out when you're locked out. But there's also diplomacy, that you try some decorum, so different strategies to break barriers of exclusion and these bureaucracies that are there. So as you're continuously making it easier for women behind you, ensure that you have different strategies that you can actually employ to access the space. It's locked for you. So other people, if you do not open it up, other people are going to find it locked. And I tend to believe in myself as, a pace setter. I want to pioneer. I want to make it easy for someone who's coming after me. So if I have to be a bit patient and suffer a little so that the next person can find an open door, then I will do it. So I flip the coin and start seeing how does this particular barrier benefit me as a woman. What are some of the things it is instilling in me and it is building me? Also, the other challenge is working in unfamiliar communities. I told you I'm from Nairobi, where we have a number of tribes, all the tribes of Kenya. And me being from a particular region and being able to engage with other communities, it calls for you to actually leave your small house, your small cocoon of being this, holding on to this identity, that you're able to, engage with other people and breaking barriers. The other challenge that is going to be there, and we will meet it, is the emotional burden that comes with working in trauma, inflicted areas, areas that have been very wounded, areas that have been very hurt. You are in working with young women who have all lost the fathers of their children to crime, because we have that particular group of women where they're saying, okay, we have children and we don't know what to tell them about their fathers because they all died to crime, and you have to facilitate that conversation. So it indirectly traumatizes you. And what I have learned to do with such things is get to know your limits. What are you able to handle? What you're not able to handle, please feel free to just make reference. And your networking comes in handy here, because the more people you know, the better for you to actually, get a pool you can select from to refer. Also, something else I remember is balancing the goals that you have for the programs with the resource limitations there are. The resources are never enough to do this work. And if you have more, Hannah, please channel some our way. It's never enough to just do the work we do and sustaining them, especially when for behavioral change, just mentioning the mindset shift, it becomes a bit hard to even fundraise for that, because when people are asking for impact, you might not have a quick impact like this. You're saying, oh, we have 5 trained people in negotiation. So what? How is that changing the lives of people every day? So just balancing those program goals and the resource limitations can also be a challenge. So what we are also shifting to do is, even as we continuously lobby and advocate for more for budgeting, even through government programming that are contributing to the work we do, also learn to tap into the local resource. What is readily available for me to use, even as I continuously fundraise? So I want to mention those 4. And unless there's a follow-up question, Hannah, that will be it.
So what is keeping you going then?
That's a good question. I was sharing with a mentee I have, who I brought in when we were starting the safe spaces for young women, and she's come up and taken over the program. We call it Glow as You Grow. So we want for these young women to be able to live their lives even past parenting at an early age. So she's come up and taken over that program, which she was a beneficiary of, or where she was a participant to. And she's now running with it. Seeing that, I am able to wake up every day and know I can do this, and also believe in someone else and trust someone else to be able to actually invest my time and my skill to it. So what keeps me going is just one person, just witnessing one life transformed and knowing that it is actually helping people become better. I want to live doing that. If I know that there's a life that was changed, I don't need to have the whole society, but if I can look back and there's one person, I am glad to go another day, Anna.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Um, so, if you have the chance to give advice for young women, especially who wants to, be part of the leadership and who's also in the process of leading, what would it be?
Um, Number one is I tell my younger self that the biggest mistake I did was not believe in myself fully. So the first thing I want for these young women to know, if actually they want to start doing this work, they need to believe that they have it in them to do the work, so that you're not looking so much for external motivation, because that might be scarce in this particular field. When you're looking for guys to encourage you, support you, keep going, it might be a bit scarce. So number one, believe it in yourself that you have it within you to do the work. And then number two, show up and show off. Be shameless. Be shameless about what you are looking for, what you're advocating for. People might get a bit uncomfortable, yeah, but with wisdom, be shameless around what you're advocating for. I want to tell this young person who wants to come up to this work, it's doable, it's fulfilling, but it will take a lot of patience for us to actually see these things happening. So do not look for quick results. Sustained processes would get us there. And it is okay for you to actually continuously redo this work over and over again, and believe in people as well. Believe in the power of people. We do not approach people like they cannot help themselves. We want to approach communities like they actually have what it takes to be resilient enough to actually overcome their challenges. So you're just tearing, you're just coming up as support. So believe in the power there is in communities, and it makes your work easier. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you so much, Wanjiku. Um Last question. If there is any exciting project coming up and if you want to share with us, we will be very happy.
Amazing. So we have things that are ongoing, programs that are ongoing. Our 5 young women safe spaces are continuously running. They meet every weekend. And ideally, what we do is we have trained mentors on specific manuals that they said would be relevant for their growth as young women. And these circle sessions are going on every weekend. But also there's alternative to violence program going on, and some that are about to start, because we recruit every now and then, training youth leaders in areas of peace building, leadership, governance, and civic engagement. So anyone who would like to partner with us on that particular project, where we build the capacity of youth leaders in conflict resolution, in leadership and governance, and also in civic engagement, come on board. If you can train, if you can fund, we are open for partnerships, really. And also the very last one is advocacy around the National Youth Peace and Security Action Plan, because we want to really populate this agenda in the grassroots level, because a paper is just a paper unless the people can identify with it. So we want to popularize it, even as we continuously, measure if we are making any steps. So for anyone who'd like to partner with us on that, karibuni sana. Karibuni sana is a Swahili word meaning you are welcome. You can find us on our socials, Footprints for Change, everywhere. Facebook, our website, TikTok, Insta. Yes, we are available on our socials.
I was gonna ask that, but you already addressed this. So thank you so much, Wanjiku. It was a pleasure having you on our podcast. You have inspired me, and I'm sure our audience will be very inspired by your work. And keep going, keep doing the amazing work you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. Let's keep doing what we do. It counts.
Yes.
All right. Kwaheri is Swahili word for bye. You will learn a lot of Swahili.
Yeah, ciao is the Amharic version.
Wow.
Ciao.